What I'm talking about today is a report that I co-authored with Jennifer Elrick with the assistance of Paulina Garcia de Moral and Salina Abji. And I want to thank Adnan Turagan for the opportunity to write the report, and for Gunjan Sandi and as well as Monica Valencia for their assistance throughout the process. What our report shows, as many of you know, is that Canada historically has been a very welcoming country when it comes to granting immigrant citizenship. It has an unusually high naturalization rate of around 85% over its past history. This is great. Citizenship does really matter. It might not matter hugely, but at the margin, it gives people a higher income, and very importantly, it allows them to participate politically in the country that they live in. It also enables them to pass along their citizenship to their children, and then thus ensures a certain stability for the nation where people settle. Having said that, it becomes worrisome that Canada's naturalization rates seem to be lowering. And they seem to be lowering for a number of reasons. Some have to do with changes in immigration policy, others have to do with changes in immigration rhetoric, and finally some seem to be attached to immigrants' individual decisions about how to plan and live their lives. So what we found out in conducting this literature review is that the latest group of immigrants eligible to apply for citizenship has only done so at a rate of 37%. Now, on the one hand, this is most likely largely an effect of their still fairly recent arrival to Canada. However, the group before them who have been eligible to apply for citizenship for the last 12 years also had a lower rate of application than those preceding them. What might be going on here are a number of things. Most importantly, getting citizenship has become more difficult. It's become more bureaucratic. The wait times are longer. There's insecurity while you're applying on what your status is in the country. And in addition, the test associated with citizenship has become more difficult, in particular the language requirements of the test. And indeed, what we're seeing is an increasing bifurcation in who can pass the test. Those from countries where the native language is French or English are doing significantly better than those people hailing from countries where they do not speak one of Canada's two official languages. So that clearly suggests that our new citizenship regime or approach to making citizenship more difficult to obtain is having an effect. In addition, it suggests that it's having a particular effect towards privileging those who come from countries where English or French is the majority language. And this has very interesting racial and ethnic effects. When you think about it, South Asia, many people, though by no means all, have access to English. North Africa, many people have access to French. However, we also see, despite this appearance, that the distribution of barriers cuts across racial ethnic minorities. We see also a suggestion in other elements of the citizenship test that there are barriers that are directly targeted at racial ethnic minorities. In particular, there we look at the notion that you need to adopt Canadian values as an increasingly emphasized element of citizenship take-up. What we did in our review is we turned to Europe to figure out what the impact of these trends might be on long-term take-up rates of citizenship. And in part we did that because the data on Canada is really still quite thin when it comes to looking at the effects of these changes in migration and citizenship policy. The European experience suggests quite clearly that limiting citizenship to select groups implicitly or explicitly, has the effect you would imagine it would have. It is creating an environment in which people feel that they don't belong and are not welcome. We suggest that there are clear research gaps in our knowledge on citizenship take-up in Canada and the impact of these changes in migration and citizenship policies on citizenship take-up. Particularly, we don't actually know exactly what the impact of language, country knowledge, and residence requirements are on the citizenship take-up rates. We have some suggestions, but they're not very deeply researched over a longer period of time. We also don't know to what extent the insecurity associated with changes in the citizenship law is affecting citizenship take-up. In particular, new changes to the law have made citizenship more precarious itself. There is more discretion in being granted citizenship, and there is discretion in taking citizenship status away from naturalized citizens. And we don't know whether that knowledge is widely dispersed amongst immigrant communities and whether this is affecting immigrants' decision to even apply for citizenship. In general, we don't know what the determinants of eligible immigrants' decision to apply for citizenship status is. We have some ideas, but we don't actually know them factually in the larger scheme, not only based on policies, but also looking at people's education, people's employment status, and so on. The data on that is skimpy. We also don't know the exact impact of settlement services, official language learning, and education training on citizenship take-up rates and the decision to naturalize. Finally, we don't know what the impact is of choosing to apply for citizenship and being successful once having applied. Do people retake the test if they fail? We also don't know how these issues occur within communities and families. Are there families where one member passes while another fails? And how does that then affect the decision of their acquaintances and other family members to apply for citizenship status? We also suggest that we might need survey studies and qualitative research to assess how the impact of citizenship acquisition affects the notion and the effective sense of belonging. We also don't really fully understand when citizenship is tied to attachment to Canada. It turns out that even for born Canadian citizens, their attachment to Canada is hovering around 75% of people feeling attached. 25% do not. This is very similar for permanent residents and for naturalized citizens as well as born citizens. So we have to understand better the qualitative connection between citizenship and belonging, not only for immigrants, but for all people who live in the country.